Hi, I'm Don Santillo with Winchester Industries. Today we're going to do a taping using the Oxford Slider product as the product centerpiece. But I guess in a way we're going to talk about what our goal is when we do this job and do it properly. The goal, of course, is to have a win-win situation where we sell the customer a product to help them, and our win is the fact that we make a very nice, comfortable income doing that. Now, let's think about this for a minute. We have a wide variety of prospects we're going to be dealing with. Forget what they look like. Some are going to be tall, some are going to be short, thin, fat. Some are going to be wealthy. Some are not going to be wealthy. In fact, some are going to be working pretty close to the dollar. Some of the prospects you visit will be very interested in your visit and anxious to hear what you have to say, and others will be very reluctant. Now, the issue is, how do you deal with these people? And how do you come up with one selling system that deals with all of the situations you're going to encounter? And please take it from me that you're going to have pressures on you. Not only pressures generated by the customer in terms of, we don't have enough time, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough interest. There are going to be pressures generated by yourself, where you're going to try to make or be inclined to make prejudgments as to whether this is a good house or a bad house, a good prospect or a bad prospect, neighborhood, etc., etc. So how do you deal with this and still get the most out of the efforts you're putting into the work? Well, I'm going to introduce you to a theme that I want you to use throughout not only your entire sales career, but particularly in terms of this meeting. I have two signs over here, and the parts that are showing say do and get. Most people come into the sales business and think that their job in going to every home is, I've got to get in there and I've got to make a sale. Well, let me give you a new way to think about it that will achieve the same thing. Your job is to visit that prospect and do the work. That is, do the work that your sales manager has laid out for you and trained you for. Forget about getting the order until that step. Just do the work. And don't let the peripheral items, such as the pressures from the customer or the pressures from yourself, get in the way of your doing the work. And there's a natural conclusion for those people that successfully do the work. And here it is. They get the sale. They get the sale. And to continue here, that number 85% is right from Zig Ziglar. His premise is this: for those salespeople that go into a home and do the work properly and do a systematic way of selling, covering all of the points before they ask for the order or present the price, 85% of the orders they write will be written relatively easily. Now, it is never easy, but what I mean by this is it won't take an hour and a half of closing and pressure and arguing or anything else. The customer must be entirely sold before you get into your pricing sequence. That's why doing the work is so important. Okay. Now let's get back to the system. We're going to introduce you today to a selling system. It's called the Solar Selling System for selling Oxford products. It starts with the 10 steps to the sale, going right down the line from entry or getting into the home, the warm-up, the company story, certain transition steps, your presentation of the parts. Then you get into talking about glass using certain sales aids. Then you do the window demonstration, and only then do you start getting into selling mode, where you get into price presentation and asking for the order. Now, it sounds sort of simple, doesn't it? Well, the truth of it is, aside from the difficulty of learning the system, it is relatively simple. The biggest issue many salesmen have is they do not wish to study and learn the system. if you think about it, you can make as much money as a doctor, an attorney, or anybody else. Why not put some time into learning the system and practicing it so that you can make a substantial income? Now, your company is going to provide you with a lot of material, lots of material. First of all, we're going to provide you with a nice looking pop-up sample display. This happens to be the slider, which is the one we're going to use for today's demonstration. This is called the parts case. This is going to be the keystone of your demonstration. In this parts case are all kinds of things that you're going to learn to use in using the solar selling system. A cutaway of our triple glass. You might wonder what part a thermos bottle is going to play in the sale. You'll see. You might wonder what part a little jelly jar is going to play in the sale. You'll find out soon. There are cutaways of our slider sill that give us an opportunity to convince the customer that we have the edge on quality that our competitors do not have. There's a little torch you're going to get to use, and you might wonder, what in the world are we going to do with that? Well, you'll see. You're going to convince the customer that you have something everybody else doesn't, and there's a light test. And all of these things, you have to learn how to use them, and you have to maintain them, and you have to bring them into every home. And in spite of the customer's resistance, perhaps, to investing the time, you must do this. What you'll find is, even the most reluctant customer will buy into an interesting demonstration. And customers today are smarter than they have ever been. And since we are selling a high-tech product, it's very important for us to be able to get them to understand why our product is better, why it is different, and why they should pay the price we want them to pay. And you see down here, out of camera range right now, this little heater. This actually we call a miniature furnace. It's also one of the sales aids you have to tote with you. It's the last thing you'll use on the window demonstration before you ask the folks for the price. Now, let's just think about all we have to do. Now, I'll show you some other tools. We have a complete set of literature for you, which also gives me a chance to let you know you have a full product line to offer those prospects, from double hungs, sliders, a wonderful patio door in triple glass that your competition cannot touch, bows, bays, and garden windows that are just absolutely gorgeous, make those people happy and help you earn an awful lot of money, and a wonderful, wonderful steel replacement door program to give people new entranceways, and again, make them happy and add to the potential commissions you can earn out there. We give you the solar selling system in a learning book that's in writing, all 10 steps. Part of your sales kit involves a presentation booklet that helps you get through the steps, and if you're faithful to the pages, they will get you through all of the steps that are posted on the wall. But you have to learn them, don't you? You see, the 3 things it takes to be successful in this business are courage, work ethic, and the willingness to learn. And I can't emphasize, the willingness to learn is very, very important. We also give you a photo book of completed jobs, because after all, people can only buy if they understand what it is you're trying to get them to pay for. And there's nothing like a picture. The old adage that a picture is worth 10,000 words is absolutely true. When you want to explain the color brown, show them a picture of a brown window. When you want to explain what a bow or a bay looks like, show them some photos. When you want to explain what full coverage or a trim looks like, show them a picture. They'll understand instantly, and later on won't quibble with you over the cost, because they had an opportunity to appreciate that. Okay, before we really start into the 10 steps, let's just talk about the market that you've gotten yourself into here. It has never, ever been better. Do you know that this year they're projecting 30 million replacement windows are going to be sold? And in the next 5 years, it can only grow. The market is continuously going up, up, and up. Talk about replacement doors. Over 13 million replacement doors are going to be sold to homeowners this year. Therefore, you better make sure that every lead you visit, you give an opportunity to buy one of these wonderful doors from you, because they don't automatically tell you that they're one of the 13 million people that are going to spend their money. You have to be sharp enough to find out for yourself. So, your company has great credit facilities. We have all this going for us, and on top of it all, your Oxford program is exclusive for your company. Therefore, if you go do all this work, you travel the miles, you go into somebody's homes and you spend the necessary time and you convince them to buy from you, guess what? They cannot shop your price, because no one else in your marketplace sells this line of products except you. So do a good job, convince the customers, get the order, and you'll make an awful lot of money. Okay, one last thing before we get into the steps. I want to mention how the competition helps us. What I have in this little folder are yellow pages from just about all the cities I visit across the country. All the yellow pages. And there can be in any given marketplace 50 to 60 people and as many as 200 in some markets listed under windows. So there is a natural feeling for some new people to think, wow, this is really a competitive market. We're going to have to do a lot of fighting. But let me give you another view. Let them compete. Because let me share some secrets with you. 99% of the people that you compete with sell 3 things. They all have different names and different brands. But in the vinyl window business, there are 3 features that they all sell. Hollow vinyl, double glass, and they feature low to moderate prices. And you'll find as your experience goes on that this is very, very consistent. Hollow vinyl, double glass, and low price. Now, if we were in college and I was your economics professor and we were trying to figure out a marketing strategy, how to outwit the competition, it would be relatively simple. If we came up with 3 things that were the spearheads of our sales attack, we would just have to, let us use the word kill. We would have to kill hollow vinyl, wouldn't we? So that people bought what we have, because we have something different. We would have to attack double glass, because we're going to offer them triple glass. And of course, by doing all this and using our 10 steps, we condition them to pay our price, which is higher than the low quality, cheap hollow vinyl window competitors that you're going to meet day in and day out. But you have nothing to fear from them, because you are going to have enough tools and enough equipment where the customer cannot buy from them. Once they hear your presentation, they're going to want to buy from you. Okay. I have some things set up on the wall here that just put into perspective what we're going to try to do here. This is what happens when we approach the home. We get up on the porch. This banner says, a reluctant customer says to you, you can come in if you want, but we don't have a lot of money. You can come in if you want, but we're just looking. We're only shopping. You can come in if you want, but we're not going to do this job until next year. You can come in if you want, but we need a very, very low price. We've seen other products, and we're not going to pay a lot of money. You can come in if you want, but we don't think we need any windows. Now, you might say to yourself, wow, if I'm confronted with something like this, how in the world am I going to make any money and sell stuff? Well, what's going to amaze you is a great deal of your business is going to come exactly from people like this. The job is, how do we get them from here over to here? Which is where we want them at the end of our 10-step presentation. Now, of course, what it says here is, write it up. When can you get the job done? Now, at first glance, you might say, wow, that's almost like a miracle. Well, in a way, it is like a miracle. It's a miracle to the people who haven't learned the system. But for those that learn the system, it's an everyday occurrence. Everyday occurrence. These 10 steps that are posted here allow you to deal with any type of prospect, in any frame of mind, in any buying mood, because it completes and creates 5 conditions that allow the customer to end up saying, write it up. And here are those conditions. Number 1, the 10 steps allows you to confirm for this customer in a way they will agree with that they need your product. Now, if you think about it, what we have going for us today are energy costs. Just to give you one little idea, in October of last year, the U.S. government and the Energy Commission said that costs were going to go up 19% for the winter. That's what they said in the fall. Then they updated it in January and said, well, it isn't going to be 19%, it's going to be 30%. And there were some homeowners already suffering under that burden. And then, of course, in April, they said, wow, we were mistaken. It's going to be 44%. And if you've looked at your bills lately, your own bills, they're like the customers you're going to be talking to. It cost an enormous amount of money to heat our homes last winter, and it's going to cost an enormous amount of money to cool our homes this summer. So all year round, people are paying more. And just to summarize that, a recent article in USA Today was highlighting 5 smart home projects. Guess what number 1 was? Change to new windows. And they talked about the potential of enormous energy savings. And they even had quotations in here about buying quality, and that they expect to pay anywhere from $600 to $1,000 or more for quality windows. Wonderful third-party support. And they went on to say that smart homeowners who invest in windows and doors, even if they sold a week after they installed them in their home, would recover at least 75% of their investment in those windows and doors. And in some metropolitan areas such as Chicago, Los Angeles, and on the East Coast, you actually get more back. You can get as much as, in Chicago, the quotation was 110%, that the value of property and improvements are just rising so quickly. So there is a genuine need out there. Now you got to prove it though. You got to work to get it done. The second situation you're going to create is value. You're going to go through a demonstration that's going to make this customer feel that they have never seen a window like this before. There's nothing better. And you got to get them to feel, because it's true, that they can't even find anything better if they look from now till doomsday. You do that through a wonderful presentation of glass, frame, and window. The third thing, the third element you're going to set up is you're going to go through a series of price conditioning steps. Now, what is this all about? Well, if we haven't told you yet, let me tell you now. When you sell high-quality products, you are generally going to be the highest priced product in your marketplace. Now, that's very good, because you sell things for higher prices, you earn better commissions. Now, the nice part about it is it's a win-win. The reason they cost so much is they're such high quality and they perform for the customer. But always remember something. Those people buy the same as you do. Don't wait till the very end for them to know that your price is going to be high. Through step-by-step selling processes, all during your presentation, you condition them to the fact that this is not an inexpensive product. Therefore, when you put the price on the table at price time or during the closing sequence, it doesn't come as a surprise or a shock to either you or them, because they're expecting it. The fourth condition you're going to set up. The step-by-step selling presentation allows you to work out the customer's budget. Let's face it, everybody doesn't have thousands of dollars in loose cash to buy windows with. Therefore, many people need the budget to be worked out. Your step-by-step presentation allows you to get these people who need your windows and like your window to make a buying decision based on something that is affordable to them. After all, we want them to like the products, and that includes being able to afford them. And you must pay attention to how you work the budget out. This system helps you do that. And now, of course, the step that some say separates the men from the boys. We have to create a sense of urgency. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, we have to take this perfect stranger that we never met before, that we're going to take up more time than he expected us to take, and we're going to show him a product that costs a lot more than he expected it to cost. And now we're going to ask them to make a decision on buying it right now. On the face of it, it's somewhat of a challenge, isn't it? But the magnificent part about this is that if you learn these 10 steps and you have the courage to try them and go out and do it, believe me, it will be as natural as falling off a log for these customers to respond to urgency. We'll get into that in a little while. Okay, very good. Let's start with the first step. Let's take our little book out so we can have some help in what we want to do at the first step. The goal of the first step, which is entry, is sort of a one-fold step, one goal step. You have one thing to do here, and that is to get into the home. It is not to make judgments as to whether they can afford the products. It is not to make judgments on anything they say to you. Many people will say things because they are fearful. After all, they don't know how you're going to treat them. There are horror stories out there of salesmen putting enormous pressures on people. So they frequently react with a sense of fear or anxiety. Your goal is to reassure them and get in, not to deal directly with what they say. As an example, if a customer would say, you know, there's no use you coming into my home because I'm just not going to do anything about this for a couple of years, and we think we're going to move, and we don't have a lot of money. They can say an awful lot of things. Your job is to still get in, because uppermost in your mind, remember, the goal is to do the work, isn't it? That means to get in to give the demonstration. You might respond with something like, well, I understand, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect. Many people feel just as you do. My job is to give demonstrations. That's what I get paid for. It's sort of like a TV commercial, but I'm live. All I want to do is come in and give you the information so that if and when you folks get ready to get this window job done, you'll know who to call. That's all I'm asking you for. There's no obligation. Let me in. The goal is to get in. You may get resistance, you may not get resistance. It just depends on the type of lead, what has happened since the people agreed to the appointment. The goal is to get in, nothing else. The smartest salesman learns not to discuss specific issues at the door. Just make it easy for the customer to invite you into the home. Second step, we call it the warm-up. It's actually a twofold step. The goal of the warm-up is to, first of all, make the people comfortable with you. Make a friend, so to speak. And the second part of the warm-up step is to measure the windows in the home. Now, let me make a couple of comments about the warm-up step. Everybody is different when it comes to warm-up. You must use your own personality here. You have to be natural. Some salesmen are natural schmoozers, so they go in and they can park themselves in a chair and talk about pets and plaques on the wall and other things that people may be interested in. And if you're comfortable with doing that, that's what you should do. Other salesmen, on the other hand, are anxious to get down to business. Now, one way or another, though, you must put the customer at ease with you. The goals are, right from the book, you have to become a friend. Try to get them to talk about themselves a little bit. Ask about if they own the home. Find out if all the buying parties are present. After all, if 3 people own the home and you're only talking to 2 of them, guess what is going to happen when it's time to make a purchase? They're going to have to talk to the 3rd party, and there will be a stall, and there's nothing you can do about that. In the event you're talking to someone and all of the buying parties are not present, my recommendation is, and ask your company what their policy is, you do not give the full presentation. At most, you may take some sizes, but you only want to present when all buying parties are present. Most of the time, that's husband and wife. Ask open-ended questions. How long have you been in the home? How far is it from your place of employment? Are the schools good? You start finding out a little bit about their children and how many kids they have, and it gives you thoughts about children's rooms and windows and everything else. If you can find out their place of employment, it gives you a little bit of an idea about their source of income. If you find out about how long they've been there, it gives you an idea how far they may be into paying off the home, how much equity they may have in the home. Later on, that's going to be an important part of the presentation. Make sure you get both people to participate in this questioning. Now, there is a way to make the entire evening go better. It's a little simple psychological effort that you put out. We call it creating an agenda. Now, let's assume that many of the people you're talking to have a certain anxiety about what's going to go on, how long is it going to take, am I going to be treated well, etc. So why not answer their needs before they come up by saying, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, here's what I'd like to do this evening. First, I'd like to check out your windows and doors. Maybe I can point out any problems or opportunities to you, show you some styles and pictures, things you would like, things you could do to save yourself some money and make your home look updated. Then when we're done doing that, I'd like to come on back here to the kitchen or the living room, and I'm only going to spend a couple of minutes talking about my company, but we want to reassure you that you're dealing with a great company. Good established companies, once you trust them, you can trust their products and their prices. So we want to tell you about us. Then I'm going to start showing you some products. First, I'm going to talk about the glass technology we have. Then I'm going to go out to my car and get a full-size operating sample. It's just beautiful. You're going to love it. I know you're going to fall in love with the window. So immediately when I'm done with the window, I'll give you an exact cost of what it will take to do all the windows in your home, or some of the windows in your home. It will depend on how you look at the project and how much you want to invest in it. Now, we have a multiple pricing program that is time sensitive. I'm going to give you a couple of prices, and one of them, which is a little better than the first one, is good for a period of 30 days. It gives you a chance to think about things and do whatever you have to do in order to make an investment of this type. We are running an additional sale today that I'll explain to you later. You may or may not want to take advantage of. And the last thing, you have to do all by yourself after I'm gone. When you decide to get your windows done, you have to call me instead of one of my competitors. You can do that, can't you? Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, let's get started. Let's go take a look at your windows. Let's see where we are in the system. Let's assume we got in comfortably, that people were interested in having us come in, and whatever their mood, we did get in. And we were able to achieve a nice warm-up. We got them reasonably friendly, cordial, so there's some measure of trust. They're going to let us go on with our presentation. The agenda should put them at ease, and since we told them the steps we want to go through, we're now reducing to almost zero the amount of people who will resist letting us do the things in the order we want to do them. And the first thing we want to do is we want to go look at their windows. Now, we use the word, we want to measure your windows. We take out our tape measure. We bring our photo book with us, and we take husband and wife. Always insist that husband and wife come with you on the measuring tour. Think selfishly. If you get to the end of this presentation and ask for an order, and you are unable to create need, therefore when the conduction tries to get through it, it gets stopped. As a matter of fact, the comparison would be the difference between putting water in here to stop conduction or putting peanut butter. Our gas is that thick. It's like peanut butter compared to water, Delta 8 gas compared to argon. So when that old conduction comes up against the glass, it bounces in. But we don't stop there. Let's deal with the radiant heat loss. The best window you can buy in your marketplace has one layer of low E. It's called Sungate 100, the most common reflective device used in the window business, on this light of glass on the outside. Let me tell you what we do. We put 2 layers of low E on that light of glass. And it's a special, expensive SolarBand 60 device made by Pittsburgh Plate Glass, and we don't stop there. We put 2 more layers here. So instead of 1 area of protection, you get 1, 2, 3, 4. We stop conduction, we stop radiant heat loss. And on top of it all, we have a non-metallic spacer system that doesn't let any of the heat get around the edges. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But up to now, it's only been words. Let me do some tests for you and take you on a little shopping tour of the marketplace. There are 4 kinds of glass. Now, in spite of the number of names in the yellow pages, this is all the kind of glass you can buy in this marketplace. Whether it is the ABC company's brand, or Champion's brand, or Sears brand, or Anderson's brand, they're all the same. As a matter of fact, you told me a little bit earlier, Mrs. Jones, that you had the man from Champion out to see you. I actually have Champion's glass right here. They sell what's called a good, better, best program, or a better, best. This is the window they sell for about $330 a copy, maybe $350 depending on the job. It's 1-inch thick insulating glass, metallic spacer system filled with a chemical, and they tell you it's filled with dead air and it's going to insulate. As a matter of fact, part of the presentation on this is they take a lighter and put it underneath, and when you can't feel the heat on the top, you're supposed to believe how great it works. Now, if you twist Champion's arm and tell them you want technology, they'll sell you this kind of glass. This is double glass, 1-inch thick, non-metallic spacer system, which is better, filled with argon, and it has low E in it, Sungate 100, which is the latest technology available on the street. And then, of course, I have hourglass. And, of course, not to pick at scabs again, but now I have your glass, which is single. What I'd like to do is to test these glasses for you. Now, this test is set up to do the following. This is a very hot radiant heat lamp. It is 250 watts. One of you come on up and help me here. When you put your hand over the light, you can see how very, very hot it is. It represents the sun's energy trying to get in the summertime, making your air conditioner work harder. It represents with the heat trying to get out, making your heating bill get higher. Let's see how your windows perform. Give me your hand, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Let's put it right on the glass. Wow, that gets hot pretty quickly, doesn't it? Well, that's how quick your heat goes through your glass. In the wintertime, the heat escapes into the yard that quickly. That's why the heating bills are so high. In the summertime, the heat comes in that quickly. That's why your air conditioning bills are so high. Now, let's take this window, which is the low-end window sold by Champion. It's also sold by the ABC company, the CDE company, and the XYZ company. As a matter of fact, I have some of their literature here. You might look at this literature. Do you see any metal reinforcement in their frame here? No, none at all. How many pieces of glass do you see? 2, just like this piece. Let's test it out here. Put your hand on there. Wow, isn't it amazing how quick the heat came exactly right through? If you keep it on there, you'll get a blister and nothing flat. Let's put a storm window on there. The equivalent of a triple glass unit. Put your hand on there. Amazing, isn't it? The heat comes through just as quickly. Now, what do I prove to you by showing you that I stack 3 pieces of glass? I could stack 8 pieces of glass, and the heat still would come through very quickly. because glass without technology does not stop energy. As a matter of fact, glass is a conductor. That's the problem. Until we put good technology on it, you're not getting any glass that's going to cut down on energy, no matter what the salesman said. Now, what I would like to show you in my book here are the 5 most popular windows sold in this town. This is the ABC company. Do you see any metal in their frame? No. You don't see it because they don't have it. Therefore susceptible to sagging. How many pieces of glass do you see in there? 2. Just like the glass I tested. This is the Champion Window Company. And gentlemen, I repeat the same thing. Do you see any metal reinforcement in there? No. How many pieces of glass do you see? 2. And this, of course, is the ABC Company here. Do you see any metal in there? No. How many pieces of glass do you see? 2. And this is Sears Roebuck. Again, no reinforcement in the frame, 2 pieces of glass. The only difference between Sears and the rest of the companies is when Sears puts together a 3-glass configuration for you, they get $1,200 for it. The rest of the companies sell their double glass for about $350 a copy, and if you want technology, they bump you up to about $600. Okay, now we tested the glass without technology, and you didn't save a nickel no matter what you paid. Let's talk about the high-tech window available in the trade today. You shop up and down, they're all going to show you this, because that's all there is. 1-inch thick, low E, filled with argon. Now let's test it out. Put your hand on there. Now that's amazing, isn't it? You can feel how much better it is. You can feel that it will cut your energy bill down 10 to 15%. By the way, did you watch any of the basketball playoff games this week? Or March Madness? Now, of course, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I realize that in the short space of time, what's happening is the heat's starting to leak through, isn't it? As a matter of fact, it'll burn you pretty soon, even with argon and this 1 layer of low E that's put on your $600 window. See, it works, but in light of rising energy costs, does it work good enough? I don't think so, but you be the judge. Here's Hourglass. Let me have your hand again. Isn't that something? It's cool, isn't it? It's still cool, isn't it? And you and I could talk about March Madness, and it'd still be cool. We could talk about Syracuse coming out #1, or whether LA is going to win the series, or who your team got in the draft. Isn't it amazing? Your hand is still cool. Same 250 watts of radiant heat, same sunshine, same furnace, and it's still cool. Put your hand down here, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Let me see if I can reflect some heat here. Feel the heat on your hand? What is happening is, this is your expensive heat, whether it's coming from your furnace or the sun. This is your good window reflecting the heat where you want it. Isn't that amazing? Now let me ask this question. If I could put a window in your home to reflect the heat like that, would I save you money in the winter time? Sure I would. Would I save you money in the summer? Sure I would. In fact, you feel this, it's still cool. You feel this, it'll burn your hand. Just amazing, isn't it? Now, having done that test for you, let me ask you 2 questions about the test you just saw. All 4 pieces of glass. Let's remove money from the question. Which of these glasses do you think would do a better job for you at cutting your energy bill down? Forget money. This one, of course. You picked the right glass for all the right reasons. It's the right glass because it simply works better. But now let's dump some money back into this equation. Which of these 4 pieces of glass do you think costs more? Well, you, like everyone else I talked to, picked my glass. But let me show you why it isn't exactly so. Your glass is the most expensive because if you don't do anything about it, you're gonna blow away an awful lot of savings and pay an awful lot of fuel bills. Of the windows you could buy, this is the most expensive. You may think you're getting a bargain at $330 a copy. You give these people $3,300 to get your windows done. How much did you save? Nothing. It didn't stop any energy. So in effect, let me show you why that's the most expensive. Our glass is so good, it comes with a written pledge, that for the 12 months following the installation of these windows, we're going to cut your energy usage back by 40%. Let me show you what that adds up to. 40% is a ton of money. Now, if I can use that to project your savings over a 10-year period, here's what that savings comes to. Would you read that figure for me, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect? $9,562. That is an awful lot of money. And that would buy you an awful lot of windows, wouldn't it? Now you see why this is the most expensive. You paid $3,500 for it. You didn't save yourself a nickel, which means you blew $9,500, which means over a 10-year period, these things cost you $13,000. Investment, loss of savings. This is your second most expensive window on the table. Now, it's a good window, it's a better window, and will cut your energy bill back 10 to 15%. But you had to pay about $6,000 or $6,500 for it. Now, 10 or 15% instead of 40% means that you left about $6,000 in savings on the table. Take that $6,000 that you blew with the $65,000 you spent, you still put $12,500 into your windows. This is your best purchase on the table. It will cost you more the day we put them in. But you see, every month you cut that energy bill back 40%. Guess what? This window costs you less because the utility company ends up picking up a good portion of the cost. And as a window professional, let me give you an opinion after having seen your windows. I'm going to say you may save more than 40%. You may save enough to pay for these windows in 4, 5, or 6 short years. What better price can I give you than free? Isn't that amazing, that glass? Let me ask this question of you, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect. I just did 2 demonstrations for you. One, to talk about vinyl and hollow vinyl versus reinforced vinyl. High-tech glass and double glass versus high-tech glass and triple glass. Let me ask this question. How many other estimates of hollow vinyl windows that sag and double glass windows that don't work do you need to get now? Let me show you a real window. Let me go out to my car and get that sample for you. Isn't that a great looking window? Let me start by showing you the outside first. First of all, from a nice appearance point of view, this actually serves as a screen track and also a water deflector, but it sort of adds to the attractiveness of the window too. Let me share first of all our screen. I want to demonstrate it to you and then set it to the side. First of all, it comes with a half screen or a full screen if you like. Full screen is an option. Doesn't cost a lot of money, but some people like it because the window does open from both sides. What's nice about our screen that I want to pay attention to is we use extruded aluminum rails. Now it seems like a very small thing, but it's a very big thing when you start living with products like this because extruded aluminum lasts an awful long time. Aircraft grade aluminum, you drop it, it doesn't damage, the dog kicks it out or the cat, you're going to have a screen that lasts and lasts. Secondly, stainless steel retainers on the top of the screen to keep it locked very tightly in the track so it isn't going to blow away. The stainless means this, they're not going to rust or oxidize like many screen holders that in 2 years they're gone. You're stuck with buying new screens. You're stuck with screens you got from a company that's not in business anymore. Another thing about our screen is we use bug protectors that are not rubber, they're not vinyl. They're made of a chemical that we call wool pile, but it is a chemical that stays upright. It keeps the bugs from coming around the screen and it doesn't wear out. In the event you ever needed to replace it, you can go to a hardware store and buy this stuff, or you can get it from us. It's very easy to renew this product. The screen cloth. The screen cloth is made of fiberglass. We use it because it's very, very attractive, gives a nice contrast whether you're using tan windows or white windows or brown windows. A very nice, attractive window. Now what I like about fiberglass is it has an electrostatic charge connected to it. Here's what this means. Especially this time of year it's important. You know all the pollen floating around, that little charge that fiberglass has in it, it collects the dust and pollen on the outside of the window, so less dirt, dust, and ugly material gets in your home to clean, and you know what, you sneeze a little bit less because the screen serves like a filter, keeping the pollen and the germs outside. Now that's a nice little benefit, all from a single screen, isn't it? Okay, let me set the screen to the side. Let me tell you something about the vinyl we use. You know, we use all virgin vinyl material. Here's what that means. It has never been used before. Now, the reason it's a very important point, many of your low-cost, cheap, low-quality all-vinyl windows, they use what's called regrind. Here's what regrind is. When we cut these pieces in order to fabricate this window, there were little leavings. You know, it was just 6 inches too long, and this goes in a barrel. When that barrel fills up with little vinyl hunks, we sell it to people. They grind it up, remelt it, and remake things out of it. Now, what do you think they make out of it? The best use of reground material is for underground piping. It's under the ground, it's not subject to the energy of the sunshine. We don't use it to make new shapes, even though there are a number of low-quality, cheap hollow vinyl window companies that do. You can tell because their white window is very, very blue, white, and glossy in shape. Ours is a subtle white, and what it has in it that the regrind doesn't have, this original material has chemicals in it that B.F. Goodrich puts in here to retard fading. In other words, resist absorbing the ultraviolet light. Now, it sounds sort of fancy, but it's very, very important because there's nothing people can do to stop the sun's energy from coming on the window. By putting the chemical in the vinyl, however, we retard fading and absorption with that chemical. The second thing is, there's a chemical in here for impact resistance. That stones, bruises, things that come up from your lawnmower, hail, are not going to crack the vinyl. You see, with a low-quality, cheap hollow vinyl window, you could never do this. You could never slam the window, particularly in the middle of winter, because it would crack and shatter. With our window, you not only have the virgin vinyl, which is tough and strong, but you have a reinforced window that doesn't shatter and break when you do slam it together. The other nice thing you see about the window is the neat appearance. And on a slider window, you have your deep drainage well that goes inside and it weeps right out, as I showed you on this particular apparatus, before the water comes out and rolls out of your home rather than going into your home. If you think about it, water that gets in the track of a slider only has two places to go: out the window or into your home. We have an accommodation, a well-engineered drainage system so that none ever leaks into the home. Something you don't get from a cheap, low-quality window. Now, before I turn this around, let me tell you something else about this window. On the top of this slider, there are two of these on a slider this size, and a bigger window can have as many as 5 across the top. This is called a precision alignment clip. Now, if you feel this, you can feel it's very tough and strong. This is not a chintzy extrusion, and it has 2 steel leaf springs on it that are installed like this, if I could show you the inside of the case. Why do you think we spend the extra money? Because these things add about $40 to the cost of building this window. Let me explain why. The windows that we are going to make from our factory are going to come to you perfectly square. They slide left and they slide right, and they slide perfect and they're beautiful. We're going to install them now into the openings in your home, which are no longer square. You told me you've been in the home 34 years. The openings have changed a little bit. The plaster, the movement of the home, they're just not square anymore. Now, doesn't it just appeal to your common sense that if we're going to make a square window fit in an out-of-square opening, we better have some sort of adjusting device? The difference between us and them, that is the cheap window companies, is we have one. We have more than one in every window, but there is a way to adjust the window. What do they use? Believe it or not, most companies use a piece of shake shingle, a piece of wood that they put in there to make up for any space or any unevenness. In a very short period of time, perhaps a year, that wood rots away and loses its ability to hold onto the window. Some companies use extra long screws that they put up through the top of the window to hold it still. Well, those screws too lose their ability to hold on. and in 2 or 3 or 4 years, they're gone from the adjustment and you have a window that doesn't fit tightly anymore. You wouldn't believe it, Mr. Prospect. We have already taken replacement windows from somebody's home to put our windows in, and we found cardboard in there. I guess when you sell things cheap, you have to do everything else cheap. We're not ashamed to tell you our window does cost a little bit more, but you get everything you pay for. Quality product, quality installation. Let me turn this around and show you the front. Now that is a nice looking window. Let me lock it up for you. We talked a little bit earlier about security. First of all, as you can see, you have 2 steel locks. And let me remind you something about our locks that is different from the low quality hollow vinyl windows. If this was a hollow vinyl window, of which you can buy them up and down the street, what do you think those locks are screwed into? The screws only go into plastic, nothing else. Any self-respecting burglar who went a half a semester of burglar school knows that with a slot head screwdriver or a Slim Jim tool, he can get in and defeat these locks and nothing flat. And the truth of it is, after a few years of wear and tear, locking and opening, particularly if you have kids around the house, locks screwed into plastic fall off. They become inoperable. These are screwed into metal. If you ever had to replace it, which I don't think you ever will, you'll take the screw out, it goes back in and holds because it's going through vinyl and it's going through metal. Now these features each add a penny or two to the cost of building this window. So you won't be surprised when I give you the price on these things. They cost more than the average window sold out on the street today. But what's nice about it is the difference between buying quality windows at quality prices, the difference in cost isn't that much more than buying a cheap window. And you get a product that's going to take care of itself for years and years and years. Now, let me just discuss some of the hardware features on the window. First of all, we have a very nice lift rail on our slider here. Nice deep gripping area, the full height of the window, that even if you have a little bit of arthritis or rheumatism, you can grab hold of the window and open it and close it. And you feel, even on the sample, how nice it slides. Remember the truck of brass wheels I showed you before? That's why this window slides so nicely back and forth. Nice even track. We spend a couple of bucks putting bumpers here. Now you may think it's a very small thing, but it's a big thing because kids come in and they open the window too fast, too wide. It stops the locks from coming over and damaging any part of the window. Maybe they're worth $1.50, but believe me, they save people on the cost of an entire window, wrecking it back and forth. The other thing is the locks are made of steel. Here's one of the locks not installed. No acrylic, no plastic parts. This is forged steel. So when you're looking for security, you're going to absolutely get security. You know, another thing I want to show you is these are called sash locks. These little pieces of hardware that are on here. I have a white one in my hand. And I'm always proud to show this to homeowners because if you come up and feel this, you can feel the strength and tension we have because that holds the sash in the frame. When I turn it over, let me ask you something. How many little screws, little springs do you see there? Stainless steel springs. You see 2. Now, this should make you smile because it's such a small thing. But if I wanted to save 47 cents on the cost of building this window, guess what I'd do? I'd put 1 in. You wouldn't know the difference. And the springs would certainly last long enough for your check to clear the account. And those are the kind of things that cheap window companies do to get their prices down. They put cheap workmanship, cut down on the parts, give you a sale price. You're the one that pays the price after your check clears because for the rest of your life with those products you have nothing but service. With this product, we put the quality in, you get the performance out. Now, let's talk about some ways this window will just save you a ton of money. Because after all, even if it is beautiful and everything else, what's going to justify the purchase in your mind is the fact that it's going to pay for itself. Now, we talked about glass a little bit earlier, but let's talk about air tightness. This window has an air infiltration rating, I'm not trying to get high tech on you, of 0.01. Now you can get an Energy Star rating on any window with a rating of 0.30. Now, I don't know what in the world they do to get those numbers, but just look at the comparison. 0.30 is up here. They have an Energy Star label. We actually test out at 0.01, which is something like 50 or 80 or 100 times more efficient. What it means is you're not going to get any air leakage through our window. And let me give you the big reason why. This sash is the same size as this sash in our window. And in 1 minute, when I take this sash out, you will find that our interlocks go from top to bottom without cutback. Therefore, you don't get any air infiltration here, and you don't get any air infiltration here. In a minute, I'm going to take it out and show that to you. Now, let's talk about cleaning. When we were measuring the windows in your home, gosh, there just must be buzzards to clean. I know you hate to do it. This is a nice feature we have on our window here. We call it the lean and clean feature. On most replacement windows, you gotta get that 50 or 60 pound piece of glass and grab hold of it and lift it up, then put it down on your sill to clean it. Let me show you how easy this is. There's no lifting. You take the sash locks and you unlock them. They unlock from the frame. The sash tilts right in. You put it on the sill of your window. You lay it out like a table and you clean it up. And it's done. Most people just reach around and clean this window, but it too tilts in and does the same thing for nice easy cleaning. So you don't have to lift. You can pull this out, reach around, clean that one, you got a great slider. Now before, I told you how we don't have a cutback on the interlock. I know this is getting a little bit technical, but this is why your fuel bills are going to go down. A low quality, cheap, hollow vinyl window, this sash is smaller. It rides up on a track 1/2 of an inch higher and 1/2 of an inch lower. Therefore, this interlock is cut back. Therefore, when you lock the window and think it's closed tight, you don't have tightness at the top or the bottom. Air leaks in the winter. Heat leaks out. It just is amazing. That's why they don't save you money. This window seals tightly. Another reason, we have wool pile, approximately 100 feet of wool pile in this window on all 4 sides. Now, look at this. Why doesn't that fall down? Because believe me, it's heavy enough that if the gravity could get hold of it, would pull it in. It stays in there because there's a gasket on the right side and a gasket on the left side. It grabs it and keeps any air infiltration from going either way. The other feature is a unique, patented feature of the Oxford window that you don't get anywhere else in the country. On the top of the sash, we have what's called a windjammer. Now, when I put this back in and I close it up, this windjammer locks itself right back into the top frame. And there's one on this outside sash too. So you have a tight fit at the top, a very tight fit on the sides of the window, tight fit at the top, and an interlock that just keeps the darn thing airtight. And on the bottom, we call this a truck. This little truck fits right up inside the sash tightly. So when I put this thing back together and put that back in, what I have is a tight bottom, a tight top, the windjammer snapped in, an interlock that locks from top to bottom, and a sash that has insulating wool pile, tight fit on both sides. No air at all. No air at all. Now, let's summarize. Got a window here that you never have to paint. A good looking window that slides easy on brass wheels that's just going to last and last trouble-free forever. You have a window that has windjammers to make it seal tightly. And of course you have that wonderful glass. And the last thing I want to do before I figure out what your cost is on getting this job done, I want to do one last test. I brought with me a at your furnace. Let me turn this on. Now, you've probably seen these. This is a radiant heater. This develops an awful lot of heat. Tell me when you can feel it, how you feel how hot it is. What I want to do is test a full window for you to see how it keeps heat from going through. Now, the way I have in the mind of Mrs. Prospect, as an example, how in the world can she say yes if she doesn't feel she needs the window? So each of the people that you're talking to must be involved in all of the steps. It is most frequent that the wife will think that she's not necessary, that you and the husband can go through the house and get the sizes and write them down. But see, they think you're measuring to get sizes. But let me tell you something about this step. This is your best selling step. The people are alert. They're standing up. You're in their rooms. You're talking about their windows. You're developing issues of their problems. They're interested in this. The goal of this step is to discover problems, sell the benefits, and promise solutions. And in a way, you're setting up your whole window demonstration. Why is the photo book important? Well, I'll show you in a minute. Why do people need windows? Just in a general sense. Here's what they need them for. They need to save on energy. They need to convert hard to clean windows into easy to clean windows. They need to convert windows that are insecure and easy to be for a burglar to get in into windows that have security. They need to convert windows that need maintenance and painting into windows that don't need any maintenance or painting. These things all save the money. And fifth, they need to change their windows because they take old, worn-out windows and change them into things that have style and beauty. So we got 5 needs right there. And on top of that, with the real estate market the way it is, an investment in windows and doors helps improve the equity of the property. So you got 6 real strong reasons why people need windows. Now, the thing of it is, they don't have written across their forehead a sign that tells you what it is they're interested in. Therefore, in order to find their hot button, you have to work at it. And you cannot take a chance that you're going to pass up their hot button by making any assumptions. That's why you do the work of the system on everybody, so that you don't miss opportunities with anybody. So you get through the home. Now we measure the first job, the first window. At the first window, I have a recommendation for you. You should explain installation. Many people are fearful if you're going to make a mess. You could explain things to them, such as how you take the old window out, how you do trim coverage, because part of our installation is to cover all the exposed wood. And if I were talking to a customer, I might show them a picture like this. And I might explain in a way they're going to easily understand. You see what looks like wood? That's all covered. That's totally maintenance free. When we do your window here, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, we're going to do that on the outside. You'll save money on brushes and paint. But more importantly, who needs to go into window maintenance in the spring? Won't it be nicer when the windows take care of themselves? Now again, let's go back to the beginning, some of the beginning statements I made. They think you're getting sizes, but isn't it starting to come clear what a wonderful sales opportunity you have? And by using your picture book, how easy it is for the customer to understand what it is you're trying to do. You can use the opportunity at the first window to explain the great mechanics you have and how they use drop cloths and they clean up when they're done. Very, very important issue for customers. Some people don't go ahead with home improvement jobs because they're afraid of the mess and the dirt that it causes. And by reassuring them that we're professionals and we treat people's homes the way they want to be treated, it allows them later to go ahead with the order because they don't have reservations about how you're going to treat their home. Now develop a habit for yourself. Let's get back to the other needs we talked about. Develop a habit that if you are measuring 10 windows, that at the very next window you focus on energy. You shake the sash to see if there's air leakage around the window. You can comment whether there's a storm window on there or not. You can look for any damage around the returns of the window, to talk about how energy and wind and rain and drafts are occurring at this particular window. You can comment that there is no radiant heat loss protection on their existing windows. And you could say, and please don't let me forget when I'm showing you my sample, how we've covered that issue, because sun's energy really is the enemy here, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. And you set all this up during measuring so that when you're doing your demonstration, it means more to the customer. Your demonstration is a solution-oriented demonstration rather than a pitch about parts. Now let's say at the next window, you talk about maintenance freedom. And at the next window, you talk about how easy it is to clean. And you, by developing a habit, you never forget to talk about the important issues. And you'll find out that they will participate, and they will give you information, questions, and comments that let you know when you've touched their hot button. Now, if you sell a lot of sliders and replace a lot of steel casement windows or aluminum sliders, easy clean becomes a big, big feature. Chances are they're talking about a window that doesn't even open all the way, where later on we're going to show them a window where both sash slide, and they're a lot easier to clean than the windows they have in their home. So make a big point out of this when you talk about easy cleaning. Look for sticks in the track that keep a slider from being juggled by a burglar who's trying to invade that home. Look for windows that are nailed shut. Look for windows the locks don't work anymore. Look for windows that have no locks. Because now, in their rooms, you can talk about security. Again, the job of measuring is not just to get sizes. The job of measuring is to discover problems. The job of measuring is to promise solutions and talk about benefits. And remember this, if the people have lived in that home for 6 months or longer, they have developed a tolerance for living with problem windows. And they may not even think anymore that the thing is a big problem. But when you put it on the front burner again for them, which is what your job of developing need, it will amaze you what some of the people will say. As an example, the same customer at the front door that said, well, we don't need no windows, I don't know why you're here. Now you're developing their needs at measuring time, and the wife is saying, I've been telling him about this for years, that these are devils to clean, that this window lock needs fixed. It will amaze you that when you do the work you're supposed to do, the right answers emerge from the customer. Okay, now we get through the home, we measure all the windows. We talked about style and beauty as one of the issues of need. What better way to introduce style and beauty when you're in front of their picture window of simply asking a customer, have you ever thought about doing something like this with your picture window? Now what I have here are pictures of installed bows and bays. Now here's what's nice about it. They get an instant chance by looking at these pictures to see if they like that idea. Now I'll tell you from years of experience that one of the most frequent comments you get back is, oh yes, we've thought about that, but they cost an awful lot of money. Now, here gives us a wonderful chance to help create the price conditioning scenario. The proper answer at this stage, step to the sale, which is only step 2, the proper answer to the comment that that would cost a lot of money is, yes, it does cost a lot of money. In fact, a bow or a bay can add as much as 1/3 more to the cost of doing this job. Well, gentlemen and ladies, many salesmen are fearful about saying things like that, but think about it. Since you're not asking them to buy anything, and no numbers are on the table, this is a pain-free way to let the customer know early at step 2 that we are not talking about inexpensive products. Why surprise them with a big number later when you can do it now when it is absolutely pain-free? Learn the price condition. Now, before you leave the measuring step and go back to the kitchen table or the living room, the last question you want to ask the customer is there anything else I didn't cover that you might have had on your mind thinking about prior to my visiting with you? Because you never know what outlandish or unusual idea the customer might have had for getting their windows done. If they say, no, we didn't have anything special on our mind, great. You covered everything you could. But every once in a while, they give you an opportunity by saying, well, as a matter of fact, we did have something special in mind. And then they'll tell you what it is. And you deal with it now at step 2 rather than down at step 9 when you're trying to get an order written. It makes all the difference in the world. Okay, now we come back to the kitchen or the living room. And we're just about to start the company story, but we get paid, so to speak, for the work we've done up to now by asking the question. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I appreciate your letting me take a look and inspect your windows. Thank you. I think you'd agree with me, after looking at those things, that sooner or later, you're going to have to do something about having your windows and doors replaced. Wouldn't you? What a nice, easy, no pressure, polite, civil question. Now, you're going to take their temperature right then and there, and you're going to start finding out whether they're interested or not. And you'll get a wide variety of answers. Some people are very open and say, well, that's why you're here. Some people will say, well, we'll see, depends what they cost. Other people will be very hesitant to say anything because they're cautious about making buying commitments too early. But you ask the question anyway, and it gives you a chance to take the temperature of the customer. Okay, now we migrate over to the company story. Your presentation book allows you to get right into the company story. Now think about it. If you knew nothing about giving a company story presentation, this book will lead you through one very easily, if you learn it. If you accept on faith that the information in this book works and you learn it, this can get you started as a professional salesman. And don't worry that it sounds like a canned presentation. Quite frankly, in the beginning, it's going to sound like a canned presentation. The amazing part about experience is that the second time you give it, it sounds smoother. And the third and the fourth and the fifth time you give it, it gets smoother still. Until on the sixth time, it almost sounds like it's off the cuff. Because you're so good at delivering this vital information that it comes out very smoothly. But even if it sounds canned, do it. Because a complete demonstration is what's important here, whether it's canned or smooth. Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, most people ask two questions about home improvement work. They ask, first of all, how much does it cost and when can you get the job done? These are natural tendencies and we're all guilty of doing the same thing. But you see, the Better Business Bureau recommends that you should ask 6 things about a given company. First of all, the first question they want you to ask is, are you local? Well, you happen to be a company that is local. Even though you are part of a national chain of 30-some distributors of Oxford products, you are a local company. Now, the benefits of being part of a national chain are you have a single research facility that keeps your window in a high-tech mode, ahead of the competition, and done professionally. But when it comes to service, you're a local company. You're established. You've done thousands of jobs for customers, thousands of jobs. So you're local. You're within 30 to 60 minutes of any installation, so that if there is a problem, we're there and we're able to take care of it. Are we established? First of all, you have documentation in the book of your company's starting date. When your company started, where you have branches, how much business you're doing in each of these areas. And your company, of course, is established. The products themselves are ENERGY STAR rated. You belong to NARI, which is the National Association of the Remodeling Industry. They require for membership that companies operate ethically. you belong to the Better Business Bureau. Now, in order to sustain a satisfactory membership in the Better Business Bureau, a company must resolve any questions that come into the Better Business Bureau. And you can invite customers to call because your company keeps the slate clean. We do it selfishly because we don't want any black marks against our name out there. It helps us sell more stuff. But there's a huge benefit for the customer when they deal with a company like Ameritech, who does service their customers and keep the slate clean. We also use a national testing laboratory, national certified testing labs, where we test our products. As an example, we claim to have one of the most airtight windows I'm going to show you that there is in the United States. And we have a certified test to back it up. So there you go. Quality certified. Are we established? We sure are. The next question they think you should ask, are you financially sound? Boy, this is very, very important. You see, the problem is if you look in the Yellow Pages, you cannot tell from the Yellow Page advertising which company does good work or bad work, which company keeps its guarantees or doesn't, which does service, which doesn't, which do not. Are we financially sound? We absolutely are. We're one of the largest sellers of replacement windows in the United States, and our factory, which we are a part of, is also one of the most solid companies there is. We maintain liability insurance in the millions of dollars. We maintain workman's compensation insurance in the millions of dollars. $3 million and $1 million. We do these things as protection for you. Now the fact is, maintaining insurance like that adds cost to the products we sell. It's likely that in every window we sell, $6 or $8 of that simply goes to the fact that we have to maintain these insurances. But you see, these insurances protect you. Because when you invite a contractor to do work in your home, or even invite someone like myself in to talk to you about the products, if an accident were to take place, you are not responsible for any injury that might happen to me or our workmen, because we insure them under the state laws in which we operate. And it's very, very important because there are some Peter pickup truck, jackleg contractors out there, do-it-yourselfers who maintain no insurances. They sell cheap, but believe me, if there were ever an accident, you are the responsible party. And in today's litigious society, they can sue you easily and win an enormous award. What did you get out of it? You got cheap windows out of it, that's all, but you got a big agonizing problem. We have great warranties. We're going to talk to you about warranties, 50 years on the products, non-prorated. What that means is, as time goes on, our warranty doesn't diminish. It's still for the full cost of the merchandise. Secondly, it is transferable. What that means is, if you pass the home on to your heirs, or you sell it to someone else, part of the benefit you give those folks is the fact that the warranties are transferable to them. So what we try to do is come up with quality products with great guarantees, and we give you an assurance that you're going to get what you pay for and you're going to get service from us. Great warranties. More great warranties. Again, talking about our company. One of the things we're very proud of is a question that the Better Business Bureau says you should ask. Do they use trained people? Mr. and Mrs. Jones, every one of our installers works for us. We don't just give them 2 or 3 days work a week, and tomorrow they're going to be putting a roof on for the ABC company. They work for us. As a matter of fact, I have a nice picture of our installation crews right here. And then mention their names because it personalizes and brings it down to something that the people are going to be comfortable with. We have a professional, step-by-step way we do the job. We measure for accuracy. As a matter of fact, when I took my sizes here, we can do a lot with those sizes, and I can do my pricing from it in particular, but we send a recheck man back, our supervisor, who remeasures these windows and makes sure all the necessary installation parts are there. He comes very quickly After you agree to go ahead with this job, we remeasure, we get the windows made, they come out to you on our trucks, and we complete the job. And what's nice about our work is, a home your size, we're likely going to get this job done in a day or a day and a half at the most. The whole idea of this is to give you protection, including our 2-year labor warranty. And here's what that means. If anything goes wrong in the first 2 years, no matter what it is, you get absolutely free service, both the labor and the material. The material guarantee, of course, carries on for years and years and years. And right within the sale of our window is a 3-year glass breakage warranty, that for any reason, if the glass breaks, including the fact that you had to break a window to get into your home because you forgot your key, as long as it happens within the first 3 years of the ownership of the windows, guess what? We're going to give you that glass free. So, in summary, great company, great installation, waiver of liens is part of our agreement. And you know, I might, before I turn the page, I might bring to your attention, when you deal with small companies who are ill-financed, don't have money of their own, and they take large deposits, if in the event they did not pay their bill, guess what? Under this state's laws, the supplier of the material can put a lien on your property because your contractor did not pay for the merchandise. We are part of the factory. We're the person that sold it to you. We're responsible for service. We give you a waiver of lien agreement as part of our contract. You would never have anything like that happen. Now, because it's a one-stop system, you never get involved in this program when you deal with our company. This is just a picture of a homeowner who had service, who bought from a cheap window company, who bought their windows from a local lumber yard, and somebody else put them in. You got a problem? The manufacturer says, not my problem, call the installer. The installer says, not my problem, call the lumber yard. The lumber yard says, not my problem, call somebody else. And here you are sitting without a solution. With us, we are the factory. We are the sales organization. We are the installer, and we are responsible for service. One single phone number. We do it all. Now, operating this way professionally, does it mean perhaps we're not going to be the lowest price in the marketplace? I can tell you right now we're not going to be the lowest price. When you buy quality, you simply pay a little bit more. It's the old saying that's absolutely true. You want to get more, you got to pay more. And the one nice thing about dealing with folks like yourself is you bought enough things in life to know that's absolutely true. Okay, let me ask you a question about your energy costs. When we were going through your home, you told me you're paying in heating and cooling costs about $1,200 and some odd a year. What do you think you're paying on average a month? About $125. Would I be correct? Why? What is the value of this page? This reminds you to get the energy costs if you don't have them already. You must have in your hand what it costs this homeowner to heat and cool their home on a yearly basis. You must get it now before you start selling. You see, people get a little more wary when you start selling, and they will hesitate to give you information that they intuitively understand could be used to talk them into buying something. So when you get it early, where there's nothing at stake, chances are they will tell you exactly the truth. $100 justifies this product and almost brings it down to a no cost to the homeowner. When they tell you more, it's only better. But get the cost number. When you get the energy cost, make sure you write it on the top sheet of the pad of energy cost calculator. This is going to be one of the strongest closing and explanation tools you have. Never, don't do it. Let's assume this is a customer that told us they have an energy cost of $125. We just write it down and we can make a comment. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, if they don't increase the cost of energy over the next 10 years at $125 a month, you are going to spend $15,000 heating and cooling your home. And of course, as I told you before, costs are skyrocketing. So this is a very important subject we're talking about. And just lay it to the side. All right, now let's talk about the next step. The next step after the company story is a transition step. It's a very small step. It just segues from the company story into talking about alternatives for the customer and everything else. The transition, which is in this book, and almost all of the words, word for word, you're hearing today on the tape, are contained in this book. The transition step starts by trying to pre-answer an objection we hear frequently. It goes something like this. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, many people we speak with tell us they're on a fixed income. Well, in a way, we're all on a fixed income. We have so much coming in every month and so much going out. And if you're anything like myself and most people, there's always a little more going out than there is coming in. But what that means to be on a fixed income, when it comes to getting replacement windows and doors, it means you cannot afford to do this job twice. You have to make a good decision the first time you do it and get a product that's going to last. Now that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Wait for an answer. The second thing is this is an important enough investment that you're going to want to shop around. You're going to want to make sure that you're getting the finest product for your money and you're getting the best bang for your buck. That's why I'm going to take a little bit of time and explain the marketplace to you, the different classes and the different companies that sell. So when we're done, you will have seen what's available in this entire marketplace. Hey, what do you need to go through this 12 times for? Okay, let's talk about what your options are. We already know that you have a need to change your windows to save yourself some money. The truth of it is, one of the options many people take is to do nothing. I think I'm going to be able to show you clearly that doing nothing may be your most expensive option. In a little while I'll point it out to you. Because just as it applies to your home, you're going to have windows that don't cut down on your energy bill, they're hard to clean, they need maintenance. I mean, they were nice when they were put in, but they're just getting old. You've got as much use out of them as you could, and you're sort of going to be stuck with what you had. On the other hand, there are other alternatives, and let me very briefly go over them with you. First of all, you can still get storm windows out there. A lot of people think it's an inexpensive way to improve the energy efficiency of their window, but believe me, storm windows today cost anywhere from $75 to $200, and they don't do a single thing for you except keep the rain off of your inside windows. And of course they do add 4 more sides of glass to clean. And they do add another set of frames that you have to maintain depending upon what they're made out of. Most people don't buy storm windows anymore, except for maybe a rental property or something like that. You would not be interested in storm windows, would you? Good, let's put that on the no pile. The other option you have are wood windows. Now, wood windows have become very, very popular through the years because mostly that's what windows were made of before the Second World War. They made them out of wood, and wood is an accepted look about it. And the biggest asset of wood, of course, is it is a natural insulating material. The problem with replacing windows that are made of wood, the problems are just enormous. Let's go back to when this home was built. It was easy to put windows in because we were building the house around the window size. So you could put a wood window in, then put your brick on, do your plastering. There was no adjusting work to be done. Today, to replace an existing wood window or a metal casement or slider window with a wood window requires enormous cost. First of all, you have to buy the window. Now, the 2 most popular wood windows are Andersen and Pella, probably names you've heard, haven't you? Well, last Sunday there was an ad in the paper for Andersen windows. They were on sale, insulating glass, $295. So people thought, wow, that's a good price. So they think they might want to get involved. But let me tell you the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey says. The window costs you $295, but because it does not fit the existing openings in your home, you have to buy, now this is a must, there's no getting away from it. You take all of your old wood out of there and it leaves it with a big hole. You buy jam extenders to fill in for all the old wood you took out, new casings that are going to go here, if you get a chance, point it out on their windows. So you got jam extenders, casings, you have a new sill, a new apron, and on the outside, chances are you're going to need new brick mold. You see, what the $295 ad didn't say to you is that there is an additional $350 worth of trim material necessary to install a new wood window into an opening such as yours. That's if you can get the old window out without causing any plaster damage. That would be an extra. Now, of course, you need a carpenter to put that wood window in. Now, carpenters are not like window replacement people. They charge by the hour, they're very expensive. And I told you a little bit earlier that we can do this job in a day or a day and a half. A carpenter would take a week or a week and a half to change all the windows in your home with new wood windows. There's just an awful lot of miter work and cutting and sawing and trimming and everything else involved. As a matter of fact, when we find folks who say, look, I want to deal with your company, but I want new wood windows in my home, and we sell them to them, we have to charge $1,200 to $1,300 an opening to put that wood window in. Now, most folks like yourself aren't interested in getting wood windows in their home. Are you? No, that's good. Let's put that on the no pile also. The other alternative you have is fast fading from the American scene, and that's metal windows. We've found so much better ways to insulate than using all metal windows. The single advantage of a metal window, even though it was popular for many years, is that it's strong. The metal is simply going to last forever. The problem is metal conducts heat, metal conducts cold. And since heat is the enemy, in the summertime it brings the heat right in, making your air conditioning bill rise, and in the wintertime it takes the heat out of your home, making the heating bill rise. So metal windows are generally not the choice of most people today, and likely you're not interested in a metal window either, are you? Good, let's put that on the no pile over here with wood and doing nothing. Chances are, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, this is why I'm here. You're interested in a vinyl window product. Am I right about that? Good. Now what I have here is a piece of vinyl. It's white all the way through. The wonderful part about vinyl, the reason it's become so popular, is it's maintenance free. You can see from the cutaway here that it's white all the way through. So even when a small scratch or something gets on the face of it, you can clean it off and you don't have to repaint it. It's just something that is totally maintenance free. Secondly, vinyl is a natural insulating product. It stops the transfer of heat and cold. And it's almost equal to wood as an insulator. So that's why it's become so popular. It's totally maintenance free and it insulates for homeowners like yourself. Now, let me ask you a question. As you look at this piece of vinyl here, looking at the face of this piece of vinyl, can you tell me if this piece of vinyl is a good piece of vinyl or a cheap piece of vinyl? Can you tell me looking at it? No, of course you can't. Well, let me share something with you. This is a good piece of vinyl. Let me explain why. You see all these hollows here where we've added extra vinyl in here and made squares and hollows and corners? All of this extra material not only adds a little bit to the cost of the vinyl, but it makes it strong. As a matter of fact, take this in your hand and try to bend it. Give it a little bit of a Hulk Hogan twist. Guess what? You can't do it, can you? It's like a piece of steel. It's so strong. As a matter of fact, vinyl is nothing short of being a miracle material. Let's just test this vinyl for you. What I have here is just a little testing box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit of heat to it. Now that heat is simply the equivalent of a couple of weeks of sunshine that every window gets that lives in the southern or western exposures of your home. Because sun's energy is very, very strong. Now, again, to tout the value of vinyl, I don't know if you ever watch Home and Garden television, do you? Sure, everybody does. My wife is addicted to it. Home and Garden television, about a year and a half ago, had a program on where they were touting the use of vinyl products for the home. They had on vinyl siding, vinyl decks, vinyl windows, and all kind of wonderful vinyl products. The host of the show was Tom Silva. Now, Tom Silva loves vinyl. As strange as it seems, and these are the notes from the show, let me show you something. Tom Silva made a statement on the show. He calls it Tom Silva's rule. No all vinyl windows wider than 26 inches. Now you might say, why is that? Because when we measured your home, only 2 of the windows in your home were narrower than 26 inches. And he prohibits anything wider because vinyl over 26 inches can sag. Think about it. When we show you our window samples, they're relatively small, otherwise we couldn't list them. But the windows that live in your home and the windows we're going to install can have glass in them that weighs 60, 70 pounds. And if you have a material that can be distorted or sagged, you're going to have a material that will cause failure. Tom went on to say, vinyl alone isn't nearly as rigid as other window frame materials, such as wood or metal. Worse, vinyl begins to soften and distort at 165 degrees Fahrenheit, a temperature easily reached in the space between the window and your drapes on a sunny day. Now what's amazing is most people don't realize that their existing windows between the window and your drape on the southern or western side of your home, you can get enormous heat buildup in there. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you've ever heard of a company called Thermalguard, a very good company, a nationwide company, they're large. They were the first company that came out with a vinyl window product that had triple glass in it. Now they did this back in the 70s. All the way back in the 70s. Triple glass in vinyl. They thought they just had the cat's meow going for it. The problem is, even then, their window cost twice as much as everybody else's. So sales were kind of sluggish. But then something happened. There was an oil embargo in the 70s that stopped the flow of oil to this country. And both the prices for heating and cooling skyrocketed. People's bills went from $15 and $18 a month, all the way up to 60, 70, 80 bucks, even in the 70s. Guess what happened to this product that they touted as a super insulator? The sales skyrocketed. As a matter of fact, the year after the embargo, this company sold 110,000 windows. They thought they were in high cotton. The problem is, about 6 months after they started installing them, they got calls from customers. Hey, Mr. Thermalguard, you better come on out here. That expensive window you sold me, the locks don't work anymore. Hey, Mr. Thermalguard, you better come out here. And that expensive window you sold me, I'm getting water between the vinyl rail on my window and the glass. Come on out and take a look at it. Well, God bless them. They went out and checked. They investigated across the country all of the problems that they got called in, and they had a ton of them. They replaced, at their own expense, 6,000 windows at their own cost. 6,000 windows. What they discovered happened is the problems occurred on the southern and western exposure of the home where the windows are subject to the energy of the sun. As a matter of fact, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, you know that piece of steel that I showed you a minute ago that you couldn't bend? Guess what a couple of weeks of the sun's energy and just a little bit of heat, and it's not even hot, does to the vinyl? It makes it sag and distort. Just think if we built a window out of this good piece of vinyl and put a piece of glass on it that weighs 50, 60, or 70 pounds, and now we let the sun's energy hammer on this for days and weeks at a time during the summer, do you think you might get some sagging? You bet. And all you need is a 32nd of an inch or a 64th of an inch, and your locks don't work on that window anymore. And what you have is a service call. And the problem now comes to this. All companies aren't like Thermalguard. They're not only were a good company, they charged plenty for their product. Therefore, when it came time to go out on service, they could afford to do it. Most of the companies that sell cheap today are out of business in 13 months. 13 months. So they sell you something cheap, they put it in your home, it doesn't work, and lo and behold, you call in for service and you're stuck. You know, over a 5-year period, in the yellow pages for this city, there are 70 companies, 50 companies that are no longer in the yellow pages. If they only sold 100 customers each, those 50 companies, over a 5-year period, that's 5,000 homeowners who can no longer get service on their parts or their window installation. And according to Dun & Bradstreet, the biggest reason companies go out of business so quickly is they simply don't charge enough money for their merchandise. Therefore, they cannot afford to go out and take care of any problems that occur. So cheaper is not always better, it's only cheaper. And the truth of it is, all you get for less money is less. And if that ain't bad enough, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I was watching TV about 6 months ago. There was a program on, a 60 Minutes type program it was. A Mike Wallace type character was on. They were talking about home invasions and home security. And I forget exactly who the moderator was, but he was a Mike Wallace type. And his guest was a gentleman who just got out of prison. He was a home invader. He was a burglar. And he was talking to Mike, and he said he represented companies that sold security systems. Now, don't forget, a security system costs about $1,000 or so to put in. They charge you $50, $60 a month to monitor it to safeguard you against home invasions. And he went on and he was doing this little thing, and when he said hollow plastic windows, I immediately perked up and started watching the show. His point was that since 1959, the window industry has installed hundreds of thousands of hollow plastic windows across the country. And the burglars have finally caught up to the idea. And for an investment of $20 or so, they actually have the key to your home. Now what I have here are 2 tools that cost me a total of $22. Now when I use them, if I'm in the back of your home in the middle of the night, you're not going to hear me, are you? And if I'm stooping down in the back of your home under a tree, you're not even going to see me. But in 1 second, I'm going to have the key to your front door. Now when I do this little test, it makes a little bit of a smoke and causes a smell, but it goes away very quickly. Now do you remember that good piece of vinyl I showed you before that sagged under the sun's weight? Let me show you what it does when a burglar gets hold of it. And I'll put this right through the thickest part. Can you imagine now? A burglar takes his $20 worth of keys, puts it into your hollow plastic window, and flips open your lock. Can you imagine how simple that is? And they're looking for them now because there are hundreds of thousands of low-quality, cheap, hollow vinyl windows installed in people's homes. And for 20 bucks, guess what? They get your stuff. You get up the next morning, you have no microwave, no TV, and maybe a lot of other stuff you liked, He closes your window, and you come and look at it, and all you got is your old low-quality, cheap hollow vinyl window with a hole in it. And you wonder what in the world went on. This is the result of many people trying to save a buck or two, foolishly. Remember earlier, the important thing is you only want to do this once. Now, you would think that there would be some smart window engineer who would come up with a way to retain all the value of this vinyl material. That is, give us something that's maintenance free. Give us something that insulates. But give us something that doesn't sag under the sun's energy, and give us something the burglars can't poke their way into. Well, guess what? That's what we've done with the Oxford window. This is a cutaway of the same section on the Oxford window. Now, what do you see that's different about this section and this section? Well, of course, it's obvious. This is metal reinforced. You see, we cannot stop our vinyl from absorbing the sun's energy. Just can't do it. But we can stop it from sagging because it's metal reinforced. We put 70 or 80 pounds of glass on it, it doesn't sag. We can't stop a burglar from trying to get into your home, but we can stop them from getting in these reinforced windows. And when I show you a little bit later our double steel locking system on this window, you're going to have a feeling of confidence and peace of mind that when you install these windows in your home, guess what? The burglars have to go somewhere else to ply their trade. Now, let me ask you this final question. In light of what I just showed you about the different way to make framing material, you got wood on the nopal, you got metal on the nopal. I think it's safe to say we can put hollow vinyl on the nopal too, can't we? Great. Because if you think about it, forget money. Which do you think is the better way to make a window frame? Of course, this is the best way. Okay, while we're at it, let me talk to you about some of the parts, the way this window frame is made. It's sort of easier for me to show you before I have a full-size window. Again, if you look in the yellow pages, 99% of the people sell hollow vinyl, the type of material I just bent up. But when you look at our sash rail, as I just showed you, it's all metal reinforced. And let me share with you a big reason why this reinforcement is necessary. When we put locks on our samples, guess what? All of the screws from the locking devices not only go through the vinyl, they go through metal. So they are secure. With a low quality cheap hollow vinyl window, the locks are secured only with the screws going into plastic. I've never been able to understand how these people can make windows like that and still lay a claim that they're giving you security devices. Our framing material is our frame of the window is totally reinforced. On a double hung, this would be a jamb section. It would be the height of the window. You see there's metal reinforcement in the entire height. So since it's the largest part of the frame, the sun's energy can beat on it and hit on it, and you're not going to have any sagging or anything else. The window has its own strength. That's why we can give you these long, non-prorated warranties. If we're talking about a double hung window, this is how our double hung window is made. It's vinyl on the outside to give you the maintenance freedom and the insulating values, but what you have underneath is metal reinforcement. And of course, right across the middle here, we have what is called a polyurethane thermal interrupter, so that in the wintertime, if there is any cold on the outside, it goes to the thermal break, stops, and doesn't transfer itself into your home. Yet, this becomes very strong. We put a window air conditioner on our window, it's not going to hurt it. You do that with a low quality, cheap hollow plastic window, and you're in big trouble. And while I'm looking at a sill, since I'm going to show you a slider, this is a cutaway of our slider window. A little later on, I'm going to show you how it works on the sample, but let me show you this. All slider windows are made horizontal. Therefore, every slider, no matter what brand it is, no matter who made it, moisture can get in the track. The problem is not moisture getting in the track. It's what the window is able to do with the moisture. First of all, these are the wheels on which our heavy piece of glass ride. We call this a little truck. This is the truck on which the glass rides. What are the wheels made of, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect? Of course, they're made of brass. Now, does it add to the cost of the window to make the wheels out of brass? Certainly it does. Why do we do that? Because we know that if there's any moisture in the track, we don't want the wheels on our window to rust or oxidize. We're unique in this. It seems as if the rest of the trade that make low-quality, cheap hollow vinyl windows are rushing to low price. And they take their quality from places you can't see and you aren't going to ask about. We talk to you about it. We admit to you right up front it adds to the cost of the window. And of course, since we sell so many, what it means to me is folks like yourself see the wisdom in adding quality to the performance, because you're not looking for problems, are you? And if you think about it, I mentioned to you before, the glass is going to weigh 40, 50, or 60 pounds. Can you imagine if you had that much glass rolling on a piece of hollow vinyl or plastic with the sun's energy beating on that frame? How long do you think before there would be a ridge in that vinyl? And how long before that little ridge or indentation became a crack and the window actually failed? It doesn't happen with an Oxford window, because if you look the way it's made, we have a metal track right inside of our vinyl so that the wheels roll on metals, sort of like a train if you think about it. In fact, it slides nice and easy this year, next year, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, forever. You're going to have a total performance out of this window. We build the quality in, you get the performance out. And let me show you one last thing on this. If you look closely in here, you see something that looks like a little black piece of sponge. I can't show you this on a full-size window. That's why I love to show this cutaway. Now, that's a special piece of material. The factory man calls it a charcoal reticulated foam or some other fancy name. It's designed to let water pass through. Therefore, if any water gets in the track, it weeps into the deep well and rolls out of the weeping system on the outside of the window. Now, the special chemical makeup means that that sponge does not absorb water, it doesn't take a set. In cold weather it doesn't freeze, and in warm weather it doesn't melt or fill up with any kind of junk, it just lasts. And it does something else. It doesn't let backdrafts. If you have a dust storm on the outside, dust doesn't come in. If you got a windstorm on the outside, drafts don't come in. And in the springtime and in the summertime, guess what else? You don't get insects moving into your window to take up residence because it's blocked. Now, you weren't going to ask me if we had that in there. You expect us to do the right thing. You see, we do it, even though the vast majority of people that make cheap hollow frame windows don't do it. They must take their quality from places you can't see and will not ask about in order for them to come in with a low price. This probably adds $18 to the cost of building this window for you. But believe me, it's one feature you wouldn't want to do without. Now, isn't that really some frame? And doesn't it make sense, all the quality we build into that? Okay, let me set the framing material aside. Totally reinforced, so it's strong and durable with vinyl on the outside, so you don't have... You get insulation, maintenance freedom, and you don't get sagging. But after all, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, if you think about it, 87% of any window is going to be glass. So if we are going to attack your energy costs, and not that I want to pick at scabs, but let me remind you, your energy costs over the next 10 years are going to be very, very high. Very high. Now, if they don't increase the price, let me remind you, you're going to pay them 15 grand over the next 10 years. But you know that's foolish. Prices are going up, almost 40% this year. If they only go up 10% a year, let me show you what that comes to over a 10-year period. The arithmetic is done for you. It's $23,906. I don't know about you, but that's an awful lot of money to me. And if I could save 30, 40, 50% of that, I'd sure do what I can to do it, and I'm sure you would too. And the answer is in the glass. Now, I need to ask a favor of you, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones. I'm going to show you some high-tech glass options. But I'd like to show them to you in a way I understand, and I may be able to explain more clearly. I'd like to use a couple of low-tech examples. As a matter of fact, what I want to use is something as simple as a jelly jar and a thermos bottle. Now let me explain, and I hope I do it clearly, but I think you'll agree with me. This is a jelly jar. It's single glass, just like your windows are right now. As a matter of fact, if I could take this jelly jar and roll it over with a rolling pin or a sledgehammer, and then melt those little pieces up and form a piece, I could make a little piece of glass about this big out of it, single glass, same as your window. So let's test it to see if it's any good. Let's say I put some hot coffee in here. Now, what was the coldest day we had last winter here? Oh, that cold. Well, if I took the hot coffee and put it out on the stoop and let it sit there for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, guess what? That's all it would take, and the coffee wouldn't be warm anymore and you wouldn't want to drink it. Because guess what? Single glass jelly jars cannot keep coffee hot. Now, let's do the reverse. Let's talk about saving on air conditioning. Let's say I put some iced tea in here and I put it out on the stoop on the hottest summer day. Think about how hot it got last summer and how hot it's going to get this summer. The same 10 or 15 minutes, and believe me, your iced tea is now tepid. It's not drinkable anymore and you wouldn't want to drink it. Here's what that little test means. Your windows cannot insulate your home, keep it warm in the winter, cool in the summer, any better than this jelly jar can keep hot coffee hot or iced tea cold. They're the same kind of glass, and they have the same kind of insulating capacity. Now, did I explain that clearly? It sure makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Question. If you wanted to keep your coffee hot or your iced tea cold, you'd have to use something like a thermos bottle, wouldn't you? That's why I brought one with me. Now, this is a $4 thermos bottle. They make them that cost $150. Let me explain the difference. There's two layers of material here. And in between the layers of material is a dead air space. Here, feel that. Okay, you feel the two layers? There's dead air in there. The dead air space in this $4 thermos bottle is designed to stop the passage of heat that is normally conducted through any type of material. The dead air is supposed to reduce the conduction, and it does. Now, if I had wanted to take a hunting trip and go to a very cold place and I was going to be there for a week, I would buy a $150 thermos bottle. Because instead of dead air between the spaces, guess what they would put in the space of the expensive thermos bottle? Gas. An insulating gas that is thicker than air. Because then, when the energy tried to conduct itself through there, the thick gas would stop it better than the normal dead air does. I guess you get what you pay for even in thermos bottles. But in the last 10 years, we have discovered there's a second way energy is lost, whether it's a thermos bottle or a window. It's called radiant heat. Now, I am not a scientist, but what I picture are these little radiant heat waves. In the case of a thermos bottle, if I had iced tea in there, the heat's trying to get in, and it gets reflected off of this silver oxide coating, which is like a radiant heat shield. Now, if I had hot coffee in there, the heat's trying to get out. You see how I have a coating inside. So that stops radiant heat loss. Now, not to get too high-tech about this, but this little thermos bottle is ingenious. It stops energy flows both ways. No conduction, no radiant heat loss. Now, we figured this. Why can't we make windows that think they're thermos bottles? If we could put windows in folks' home that minimized, almost stopped conductive activity, and also stopped or minimized radiant heat loss, we would save the money. And when we're talking about today's energy bills and potential increases, this is what good glass is made from. The problem for a consumer like yourself is You only know what the salesman tells you. You don't know if you're getting good glass or bad. So I'm going to explain and I'm going to test for you. Now, let me show you what we've done here. We figured if one airspace in a thermos bottle was good, two would be better in a window. So with our triple glass unit, we have two air spaces here. Now, we don't fill it with dead air, we fill it with a gas. And we fill it with a special gas. It's called Delta 8. Now, the facts are, the most common gas used by the low-quality, cheap hollow vinyl window people, the best technology they have is a gas called argon. Now, what is argon? Argon has been in use for 100 years in industry. It's thicker than dead air, but it's not the latest technology. But it does give a salesman an opportunity to say, hey, I got gas. Well, let me tell you, we have gas that is 5, 6, 7, 8 times thicker than that. My selling sample setup is, this is my glass here. This is their glass here. And the last thing I want to do, before I figure out what your cost is on getting this job done, I want to do one last test. I brought with me a miniature furnace. Let me turn this on. Now, you've probably seen these. This is a radiant heater. This develops an awful lot of heat. Tell me when you can feel it, how you feel how hot it is. What I want to do is test a full window for you to see how it keeps heat from going through. Now, the way I have my selling sample set up is, this is my glass here. This is their glass here. Now, the difference is, ours cost you X dollars, and this window glass can be bought anywhere up and down the street for anywhere from $350 to $650. Let's see which one works better. Let's test theirs first. Put your hand about 4 inches away from the, oh, you feel the heat coming through already. Isn't it amazing how quickly the heat went through that? If you had just given anybody $3,500, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, how would you feel about the windows you're getting? Not very good. Let's test ours. As a matter of fact, I know you don't feel anything. Put your hand on the glass, all the way right on top of it. It's still cold, isn't it? Isn't that amazing? That's a hot furnace, but nothing comes through. Nothing at all. You see, this is a window that works. This is a window that costs a few dollars more because we build so many quality features in it. Why do we sell so many? Because this window is proven that it cuts the energy bills down. Comes, of course, with the pledge. Let me ask this question of you. After all I've shown you, let's put money to the side for a minute. Other than money, other than the cost of the things, is there any reason you wouldn't want to have these Oxford windows installed in your home? Right, that's the same answer everybody gives me. Of course you'd want them installed in your home. Now, of course, the issue is, what do they cost? Okay, what do we have? Now we're all the way down. We went through all these steps. We finished the window demo, and we're starting to get into the closing sequence. What is the closing sequence? That involves the presentation of the price. Many companies have different ways of presenting the price. If you use a 3-price system, you can use a form like this. If you're using a model home or an advertising discount, you can use whatever your company chooses for you to use in that regard. Here's what's important. If you did all of the demonstrations and all of the presentation exactly as we talked about today, by the time you get to the price now, there are a couple of conditions that exist that didn't exist before. First of all, you took an awful lot of time early on in your visit with the customer to create need. You measured the windows, you talked about it, maybe 20 or 25 minutes worth of time, so when you came back to their table, you were able to say, I think you need these windows, let's talk about it. Then you proved value. You talked about the quality of your company, the quality of your installation. You talked about the quality of the glass. You gave them a great window demonstration, and all during the demonstration you used price conditioning statements. All you get for less money is less. You want to get more, you have to pay more. This adds a few bucks to the cost of the window. Therefore, because of your price conditioning efforts, by the time you get to the price, you don't have to be worried that they're expecting a low price. They're expecting a high price. That's why this works. And just like Zig Ziglar says, 85% of the people you sell will actually end up buying relatively easily. Not easy, but relatively they're going to fall into your system. Now there is a step, just to comment on briefly. If you use a 3-part system, you don't give your main discount until you're on part 3. Therefore, when you get down to part 2 in your pricing, you work out the budget. You must find out before you give away your main discount. A, if there are any hidden objections that you didn't talk about with these people beforehand. B, you have to find out if they can afford the full job. What is a comfortable budget for them? How much of a down payment are they going to be able to make? What monthly payment will fit into their budget? Are they going to go with credit and wherever possible sign them up and sell financing? All must be done before the discount. So even though this is filled out on the back, you don't show it to them. You just show them the front. That's what lets you ask the question. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, this price is good for 30 days here. Do you think you and the mister will be making a decision on this one way or another within the next 30 days? Now, gentlemen and ladies, 99% of the people will say yes. And you merely segue into urgency by saying something like, that soon. Since I've taken this much time, let me take another 10 seconds because my company has a program for folks that are going to act quickly that saves them some money. If I could save you what you perceive to be an awful lot of money, could I work this out with you tonight? Now, let's say your closing rate is 40%. It could be anything. I just want to make a point here. The 40%ers are going to ask buying questions such as, well, what do you mean by that? How much is a lot of money? They're the people that are interested. See, they like the window. They wish it would have been less expensive. But under Program 2, it's still very costly. But they're curious as to if there's a better price. The 60%ers, the people that don't buy from you, they're going to say all kind of things. They're not out of the game yet, but they're going to say all kind of things. They may say, hey, if they were free, I wouldn't buy them tonight. I don't care what the discount is. I'm not interested in doing this. We don't do this, we don't do that. And you can have answers to bring them back into the game, but let's focus on the 40%ers. We have a program where you can save an awful lot of money. All it requires is you trade us a little bit of time, and a couple of weeks is a little bit of time, and we'll give it back to you in the form of an awful lot of money. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now you figure out your main discount, get it down to the selling, close to the selling price you want to get, put in here the comfortable deposit that you worked out in this step, put in here the comfortable monthly payment that you worked in this step, and now you put the large discount in, which is the only thing that will make the people act with urgency. Now, closing on urgency is a meeting and a tape all by itself. But the value of what we've done here for you today is 85% of the job of closing is done before you get to the price. Give a good demonstration. Do the work. The people will want you to work the price out. Okay, till next time, I certainly wish you good demonstrations, good selling, and a lot of fun with the commissions you're going to earn. Thanks a lot.